Howdy folks, welcome to another episode of Yogi's Hobby Podcast, the podcast where I talk about everything from tabletop RPGs, tabletop war games, and tabletop board games, and everything those particular hobbies encompass. Been away for a little bit due to various bits and pieces, but we'll be back once a week as always. Going to try and get some more interviews in. Talking to Stomrgrad Games of Warp Time Radio, if you remember Scarlet Kingdom, who was one of the other three hosts of Warp Time Radio, was on a couple of months ago. So having Stomrgrad on probably next week, maybe the week after, but we're going to get the ball rolling with more interviews. Obviously, because I have very limited time for when I can actually do interviews, because obviously everything going on in the Legends of Hamanshiron at the moment, as we're gearing up for the first playtest, it's all kind of all over the place. That's why last week there was no podcast, because I had to take a week off from pretty much everything, apart from my door job, because I didn't want to burn out, because the next 5 weeks are going to be pretty intense, and I knew that, so that's why I put in the schedule that week off, but it meant I had to take it off from everything. So there was no podcast, no YouTube, didn't do any streams, nothing at all, just chilled out, played some World of Warcraft, not classic, and you know, just reset myself before I got in it. So hopefully, you know, that'll help everything, not just obviously the game, but podcast, YouTube, streams, whatever I'm doing. Hopefully that helps. As far as I remember, Skelp is the next wargaming show in Scotland, so that's the 12th of October. It is in the Forfar Reid Hall on Castle Street in Forfar. It's being done by the Angus War Games Club, who always run that one. So at the moment, the only traders I can see at the moment are Colonel Bill's War Games Depot, Commando Miniatures, Floating World Designs, Games Workshop, Highlander Games, Men of Swords, Red Dice Games, and War Bases. And War Bases are sponsoring the show. So so that's Angus War Games Club, and it's Skelp 2019, Saturday the 12th of October, from 10 AM to 4 PM. I probably won't be there, because it's a Saturday and it's in Angus, Forfar, and I will be working that night, so that early start to get up there and back, that'll be a no-no for me. But you know, if you live locally or you're in the area at the time, it's not a bad show to go to, from what I remember. So that's a Skip on October the 12th. It's a Saturday, if you know, that helps. So what I'm going to talk about is a little bit different from what I normally do, because normally I do the Games Workshop thing right at the beginning, or I kind of do the stuff that's going on with Games Workshop, because it normally interests me, and it does. You know, what's been going on with Games Workshop has interested me as well, but I want to talk about what's been going on with me and what's been going on with gaming and painting and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, since we moved in with the in-laws, June, July, something like that, I've only had the painting out once. I was entirely intent on painting last week, during the downtime, and you know, getting some stuff done, but other things caught my eye and caught my mind, and made me think about stuff. So I never actually got any painting, and I don't know whether or not it's just because I was kind of burnt out from painting for a while because I was doing it all the time. I was building terrain all the time, But it's been a while. I mean, it's been since like March or something like that since I've actually sat and really concentrated on painting and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And maybe it is because commissions dried up around that time, or I don't know. I'm really not sure. And it's something I wanted to touch on. Is it's okay, alright, to take time away from painting, building terrain, building your models. It's alright to take time away from gaming, if it's not something that is pulling at you at that time. The problem a lot of people get, and I see it, is they burn out because they don't want to do it, but they feel that they need to do it. Like they feel like they need to game, they feel like they need to paint, they feel like they need to, do some sort of thing to do with their gaming, and they just do too much, and then they sick of themselves for a wee bit. I see a lot. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I see that come for a bit, don't come for a bit, come for a bit, don't come for a bit. They've got a weird cyclical thing with them. And I mean, that's some of them it's because of their job, but some of them it's because they get burnt out, they get tired of politics in their club, or they get tired of playing the same old thing all the time. I mean, a lot of people love playing Warhammer, and that's all they play on 40k and stuff like that as well. But there's people that I know that like to have variety in their gaming, that tend to, very much like me, in that respect, that they like their variety in their gaming. But unlike me, I don't really take breaks. I take breaks from painting. I take breaks from building models. I don't take breaks from buying stuff. Well, I maybe should at times. All that stuff goes on, and it kind of makes you want to take a wee bit of time away. And I think the thing is that you have to say that's fine. You have to say to yourself, that is fine, it's okay, I'll come back to it at some point. I mean, some people it takes 10 or 15 years to come back to it because they've burnt out from gaming. Some people, when they take that long, it's not from gaming, it's from other stuff. But these things happen, and it's alright to talk about it, it's alright to discuss it, it's alright for it to happen to you. If you get burnt out, you need to take time away. That's why I took the last week off, so I didn't get burnt out. So it's alright to do it, it's alright to take time off, it's alright to talk about it, it's alright to be that way, be that way. It's alright to take all that time off to recover what you love about the game, what you love about the hobby, all the rest of that kind of stuff. So that's me. I think that's me done for a lecture. It was a short lecture, but what else am I going to talk? Oh, yes. With obviously the RPG, we've got all the social media stuff that goes on, and we're doing, there's a Facebook ad that's out right now. Now, I've done a number of Facebook ads, and what normally happens is I put in like US, UK, Canada, New Zealand, like Australia, like the big countries that speak English. The last ad I did, added South Africa and India to it. Now, Facebook ads are a little weird, and the way that they go about it, right? When you put the number in, right, normally mines would come up about 40 to 50 cents per engagement. When I did South Africa and India, it became 0.05, because this is the thing that Swordsfall, Brandon, who wrote Swordsfall, has been talking about with he's YouTube, not his YouTube, he might have been his YouTube, I don't know, but he's Twitch and on his Twitter, is not just looking at who you know is your audience, but building an audience. So basically, with the current one, I have put it everywhere that speaks English, essentially. Whether it's as their official language, their main language, or secondary language, or like lingua franca, if they speak it, then it's in there. So you get Ghana, you get Kenya, you get Jamaica, Barbados, Philippines, Singapore, and as well as India, South Africa, UK, US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia. All these places where you would expect me to put an ad. That's the thing. You have got to build your audience as big as you can, maybe not as quickly as you can, but as big as you can, and you've got to put it out there. You've got to put it to everywhere. That the only reason that it's only English right now is because I don't speak Spanish, I don't write Spanish, I don't speak German, I don't speak Dutch, I don't speak any other language other than English. In time, the plan is to hit everywhere with every language. Now, obviously, I could hit Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, because they do speak English as a second language, same as Holland, same as a lot of the world, but it's so much. If you're going to hit the whole world, then you hit the whole world with it. But there's only going to be certain people that are going to see it, because it won't get translated. As far as I know, it doesn't get translated into the local language, because it's like Google Translate, as far as I'm aware, with the Facebook translator. It's not very good. So what you want is actually somebody local to translate it, or somebody who speaks the language to translate it, and then they send it out. That will happen eventually when we have money to do that. I've already got an idea of who I want to bring in. It's the same with I want to talk about this a little bit as well, with artists and writers for the future. Got in mind. They're there. Obviously, I've been doing art as well myself. I've been relearning to draw in order for me to do the bulk of the little work, and then any major art gets done by a good artist. I think I might become a passable artist, but good artists, like front covers, big spreads, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. You want people who get paid to draw for a living to be doing that art, and that's that's a good segue into this. I've been seeing a lot of stuff in the last little while about people not paying artists, people not want to pay writers, or not want to pay them a fair share, or a fair rate, their rate. The thing is, there are some artists that take the piss with their rates and all this, and that's fair enough. That's up to them. It's you thinking they're taking the piss, or it's me thinking they're taking the piss. But to them, their art is worth that, and if their art is worth that in their head, then that's fine. You know, I get that. It's the same with me with painting models. I have a rate. If you don't pay it, if you don't want to pay it, that's fine. I'm not going to paint any of your figures. So that is the thing with me, is if that is their rate, if that is how much they charge. So there's one guy that I seen that was $150 for like an A4 with, you know, maybe 3 or 4 figures on it or something like that. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it's like, well, that's reasonable, because that's like, if you think $250, I'm not sure what the minimum wage in his state was, but you know, even if it was $9 an hour, that's what I had it all worked out, but that's like 28 hours. That's almost a week's worth of work, which, you know, that's fair enough, because it probably does take that amount of time. It probably might take a wee bit longer depending on what you're wanting, so that's understandable. I'm entirely with that. I was talking to somebody about the Ink Night, about doing some writing for Hamanshiron. 10 sentence word. I don't think that's unfair, because if I asked him to do 5,000 words, that's what, 500 quid or $500, and that's like 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks wages, but like a week and a half's wages, if the minimum wage in his state was £9. But I wouldn't expect him to be working for minimum wage, because this is the thing. It's the thing that annoys me quite often about when people talk about skilled, like craft trades, or the RPG industry, or gaming industry as a whole. It's not a skilled job. It's very skilled. If you paint, it's very skilled. If you write, and you write well enough that you get published, it's a skill. It's a skilled job, and you should be getting paid appropriately. Now, I don't know if 10 cents an hour, or a word, is a fair rate. I'd need to look into it a wee bit more. I don't know whether $250 for an A4 piece of art with 3 or 4 figures round about a table or whatever is fair, because I need to do more investigation into prices and stuff. But you know, to me it seems fair, because you know, I know how long it takes me to do, you know, a couple of figures on their own without adding the table and stuff. So, and I'm not, and that's without colouring it. That's without having any skill, really. So I can see where those prices come from, and I know how goddamn long it takes to write a bloody article as well. It would be the same as me editing somebody's podcast for them. It's like, yeah, how much is minimum wage in the UK right now? £9 an hour? No, that's not at £9 an hour. It's £8.21. I'm sure as shit not taking that for editing a podcast, because the last, especially if it's an actual play one, because the last one that I edited that had more than one vocal track had 4 vocal tracks. Now, not a lot of podcasts are going to have that, but 4 vocal tracks. It was 3.5 hours long. It took 24 hours to edit together, because you're not just listening, you're not just adding 4 tracks together. You know, one that has 2 vocal tracks takes about 4 to 5 hours minimum. Well, not minimum, it takes about 4 to 5 hours. One with 3 tracks normally takes about 12 to 15. So you're not just doubling the time that it takes to do it. It takes more time because you're listening to 3, 4, 5 different tracks and trying to get the best one out of them all. So it takes time. It takes some getting used to. So you're not. Yeah. So pay your artists, pay your writers, pay your painters, pay anyone that does any work for you a fair amount of money, because everyone's got to eat, and that's how a lot of people make their money, because the way the world is at the moment. So yeah, that's yet another lecture. Right, let's get on to actual Games Workshop stuff now. So the Codex supplement, the newest ones are on their way. That is Codex supplement Raven Guard and Codex supplement Iron Hands. So you can play the Raven Guard and the Iron Hands. So with that, obviously there's new upgrade kits and transfers, but there's also new minis. So there's a Primaris version of Kaivan Shrike, the chapter master for the Raven Guard, and then there's Iron Father Phyros. So obviously, if you know your lore, the ancient title of Iron Father is bestowed upon the most revered warriors of the Iron Hands. As Master of the Forge, Phyros is able to repair vehicles as the battle rages around him, but he's a warrior first and foremost. So he's got a heavy bolter, shoulder mounted, and he's obviously got his big cog axe. And then they're also bringing out the Vanguard Lieutenant and multi-parter Eliminators that I think came in the box that had the new Vanguard Primaris and the what do you call them? Black Legion stuff. So I think that's being drip fed at the moment, all the bits and pieces for them. Obviously data cards for both the Raven Guards and the Iron Hands coming out. That's next week. This week, obviously, the Aeronautica Imperialis dropped. So there's stuff about that all over the place for on the website. They talked a little bit about the Psychic Awakening. So this is the new worldwide campaign, the 11 campaign for 40k. So that's on its way at some point soon. So they've got that website set up. So they've got a 11 map. It says Phoenix Rising, ancient and proud Eldari race. They split into various factions. The Stalking Noble Asuriani, or however you pronounce that, live their lives adrift on planet-side craft worlds. Brave Drukhari venture forward from the dark metropolis of Komara to raid and pillage. The mysterious Harlequins travel the galaxy according to their unfathomable whims via the webway, and the uniform Yunari comprised members of all walks of Eldari life are united in the desire to awaken Unid, God of the Dead. Eldari psychically centered race and fragile balance between the disparate cultures. Disturbed by the psychic awakening, these factions have become embroiled in a full-scale internecine war for the future of their people. Each division drawn even wider, complex fabric of alliances, uneasy truces unravels, and the self-righteous leaders on all sides attempt to rally support for the causes. So that is the only thing that's on the Psychic Awakening website right now. Obviously they'll add more as they go along. They revealed a wee bit more about the Bone Rippers and the Immortus Guard for the new Ossiarch faction for the dead, for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Very nice models, I have to say. They're very reminiscent of a mixture of Tomb King and Samurai. So a mixture of both Egyptian and Samurai in many parts. So that should be interesting to see what comes of all of that stuff. They also revealed the ever chosen winners. There's some nice figures, I have to say. So they've got the best 100 after that, and they're really nice figures. But as with don't get me wrong, the skill involved and painting these figures is superb. They're all like character figures. So they've got a Ogroid Thaumaturge, Abhorrent Archregent, and a Lord of Lights. And the skill with which they painted it, non-metallic metal. There's tattoos on the Thaumaturge that look like they aren't part of the actual, he's sculpted with all those runic symbols. I think some of them are, there's definitely tattoo in there that isn't part of that. And the Archregent is superbly done. But a lot of the stuff with Everchosen, there's going to be stuff that go in to the the regionals because of popularity. It was regional, like store by store, it was a fucking popularity contest, and I don't think that was fair, to be honest, for some people. I know some people who probably would not have got past the regionals, like but they didn't get the kind of recognition they should have in their stores because they're not friends with like 90% of the store. That's the thing that I feel about these kinds of contests, is they are a popularity contest first and foremost. I know there's members of the stores that were able to compete in one of the categories, which is fair, they're painters and everything too, but I'm not a big fan of the format. But the people who have got to the finals and the final 100 are all, all the paint jobs are absolutely superb, and the ones that have won are pretty nifty. pretty nifty. I mean, the non-metallic metal in it won the Lord of Blight is fucking awesome. He's done like a green non-metallic metal as well, which looks just stunning. Even though it's only little bits that you can see, it is superb. And as I said, the Stomrgrad Games looks like he's got tattoos that are actually like done. They're not. They look like tattoos, but they don't look as if they're part of the sculpting either. It's just, I mean, the Arch Regent is alright now, but those two are banging. And he's done gold non-metallic metal on the base bit, which for the thaumaturge, which is superb. Yeah. But that's my 2 cents about the overall thing about the what you got, the ever chosen thing. Is locally it was a popularity contest. Once it got to regionals and once it got like to the top, it was no longer one, but until that point it pretty much was. Anyway, let's not go on about that. There's more stuff from Forge World for the Lord of the Rings stuff on its way. The sheriffs come to the Shire. Gotrek from Gotrek and Phyllis fame is back as well. I think he's getting released this week, I can't remember. But yes, he is on his way. And they've done a Howdy, like Gotrek versus the Mortal Realms. They've done him versus Thanko. So killed Thanko, fought the greater demons. I think which he absolutely pantsed. And then they did, yeah, pretty much Gotrek won everything, every single one. Apparently he's badass because he beat Nagash, he beat Archeon, and beat shitloads of grots. So yeah, they've got the War Scroll for him. He has 6 attacks. He's 3+ to hit, 3+ to wound, rend is -2 and damage is 3. What? It doesn't have like all his moves and stuff, but that's like his wet on. It does moves 8 inches. He's got 8 wounds. He's 4+ save, and his bravery's 10. Shoulder plate of a dancer is roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to this model, and a 3+ that wound or mortal wound is negated. Jesus. Unstoppable Battle Fury. At the end of the combat phase, if this model is within 3 inches of an enemy unit, this model can fight again. You can reroll hit and wound rolls for attacks made by this model. In addition, the unmodified hit rolls for attack made by this model is 6. That attack inflicts D6 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any normal damage. So Avatar of Grimna, as Godric has survived countless battles and trials over the years, become an almost unstoppable avatar of the Dwarven warrior god Grimna. If damage inflicted by attack, spell, target, or ability that targets or affects this model is greater than 1, change it to 1. In addition, if a spell or ability would slay this model suffers 1 mortal wound instead. However, this model is including the army. It cannot be set up in reserve, must be set on the battlefield, and you cannot use spells or abilities on this model that will allow you to set up again after the battle has begun. Okay, so he's 520 points. He would be, if you're playing a Grand Alliance army, and you're playing pitch battle meet engagement, right, if you put him, if you had this guy in your army, he would wreak havoc. I mean, of course your dice rolling would have to be better than mine, but you know, that's crazy. Yeah, so he's on his way. There's some new stuff, like books and stuff on the way, and then there's Monsters and Mercenaries for Warcry. The book is on its way as well. It lets you put monsters and stuff in your game. So yeah, that's the stuff that's on its way from GW. And obviously Aeronautica Imperialis has dropped. I have not actually seen the price of it at the moment. Aeronautica Imperialis. Ooh, that's 50 quid. For what's in that one, £55 from GW. From what's in the box, 9-part plastic set of models. There's the rule book. Double-sided area card. Might get it at some point, but I don't know. Anyway, that's what's going on with Games Workshop. What's going on with Legends? So, as you heard me talk about in the beginning, we are gearing up for playtest. So, at the moment, I am editing. But I say editing, but really it's just putting stuff in and thinking, right, okay, this is where this goes, this is where that goes, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. I am not editing it properly. I really do need to edit properly. So that's happening. We will have the cards. So what will happen when we do the playtest? There'll be the playtest character sheet, because it's not the final character sheet. So there'll be boxes around it that say hand-to-hand combat weapons, ranged combat weapons, spell book, or spells, or powers, and that's where you put the cards. So obviously at the moment we're nowhere near production on what we want to do with them, but what we will have is what's the name? It's a card template. So there'll be melee weapons, ranged weapons, spells, armour, shields. I think there's something else, I can't remember off the top of my head now. So these templates, so what you will do if you're doing the playtest is for each piece of armour you've got, each weapon you've got, each spell you have, powers, whatever it is, you fill in a wee card, because there's no point in me spending a week just filling in and making cards for these right now when you're not going to be using them. You as well doing it yourself and just print off the ones that you need, because they will be frigging everywhere. So you're as well doing that yourself. So you just fill it in. It's simple. Everything's there. All the details are on the card, and they're big as well. So, excuse me. You should be okay with them. So Sam worked on that, and Barry's working on the character sheet. Alistair is working away on the online stuff. I know there is a lot of it to do, and obviously as we're updating stuff, he has to update it and all this, that kind of stuff. So it won't, the online stuff probably won't be available at launch of the playtest. I highly doubt it will be available until the second playtest, because obviously there's stuff that's got to be done with it, and we've got to look at it and figure out how it works with this and the next thing. Adding character generators and loads and loads of stuff that needs to be looked into and worked with before we launch it. But it will get launched during playtest at some point, because I don't want it to. What we want it to do is grow with the game and change as and when we change stuff in the game. So it's not an afterthought. It's not something that gets added later that we've thought about. Oh well, we need to do this for the game. It's going to be there. As I said, I don't think it's going to be available during the first playtest, but if it is, we will make it available. Pretty sure it'll be available in the second playtest, because the first playtest runs from the 14th of October. I was going to say 16th of October. 14th of October to the 14th of April. So it's a 6-month playtest period. So you guys can play all the adventures that we'll be writing, plus you can write your own and play your own and build dungeons and build cities and build whatever the fuck you want, to be honest, that you can add to the game. The thing about it is it's not going to just be a system for this game. It's going to be a system. The combat system is as realistic as we can make it. So the combat system will be able to be used for this. It'll be able to be used for sci-fi, be able to be used for modern, just with bits and pieces of tweaks and weapon changes and armour changes, and not even that much skill changes. The fates or the luck system, whatever we're going to call it, doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be divine luck. It can just be luck. I mean, that's it. You can just use the card system and go, well, it's luck. It's that thing that might happen doesn't happen because of a twist of fate, or it does happen because of a twist of fate, because if it wasn't going to happen. So, it's not purely for this game. It was, the original idea was it was going to be purely for this game, but then I decided that I wanted a system that if I wanted to do a sci-fi system, just use this system, just make some changes and take the magic out and add maybe spaceships and all this, that kind of stuff. So, it's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a closed system, it's an open system. And if you guys want to use it for whatever you want to use it for once it's finished, before we actually get around to doing anything, then you are more than welcome. As long as you don't publish it and make money off it, you are more than welcome to do it. Or ask us, and we'll be involved with a licensing fee. Anyway, so that's what's going on with Legends right now. I am still. We've got Patreon. It's been running for a wee while. If you want to help support the making of Legends of Hamanshiron, hit me up and I will send you the link. yeah, I think that's it for this week. For me, if I start keep on talking anymore, I will run into my time where I can actually do some work, and I don't need that happening. So, as I said at the beginning of the show, Scalp on the 12th of October, 10 AM to 4 PM at the Reed Hall in Forfar. So I'm going to wrap this up and say good day and happy hobby.